Hatcher. It remains a very, very good FA Cup final. And Hatcher! What a magnificent goal!
Good evening and welcome to All Things Sky Blue. In conversation with, I'll announce my guest shortly, but just remember where you can find us. It is scrolling on the ticker down at the below. So we are on Twitter or X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We're on YouTube as well. Please go and like and subscribe. And we also turn them into podcasts, so you can find us on Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, or wherever else that you get your podcasts from. Please go and rate us 5 stars on there. This season, we're sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications. His logo's in the corner. He can do your steel fabrication work up and down the country, but mainly in the Coventry and Warwickshire area. Also, we're partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar at the CBS Arena and also the Sky Blue Tavern, where I host most of my videos and interviews from nowadays from here as well. And we're also this season in association with Coventry Ladies, which will be more of that to come. So before I do bring my guests in, this is our latest instalment of In Conversation With. We've done Mickey Quinn in the past, we've done John Williams, Frank Musa, to name but a few. So please go and have a look at them on there with us as well. So I'll bring my co-host in as I always do first, which is Mark Smith. Good evening, Mark. How are you?
Evening, Stuart. Yeah, yourself? You good? Not
too bad, thank you. You're looking forward to the guest coming on?
Yeah, well, he's got almost as good a name as me, so yeah.
I suppose he has. So the guest that I'm going to be bringing on has had 309 appearances for Coventry City over 2 different spells. He's scored 3 own goals, but we'll try not to mention them too much. He's scored 4 goals, and I must say they are bangers, so we'll talk about them in a minute as well. And he's also got 17 assists. That's a little bit more than I thought he had, to be fair. So fair play to him. And the guest is Marcus Hall. Good evening, Marcus. How are you?
Good evening, both. Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, I don't know where you got these 3 own goals from. I can't remember the 3 own goals.
He's trying to forget about the 3 own goals.
3 own goals for Coventry. I didn't score 3 own goals. I scored 1 for England in the 21s. I know that, but I can't remember 3 for Coventry. Come on, you've absolutely killed me there.
Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry, mate. Maybe I'm wrong. Look, we won't talk about them anyway.
It's all right, mate. Now you can show them if you want. A goal's a goal in my book.
Fair enough. Right, so let's get to it then, Marcus. Tell us, how did joining Coventry City so young? Obviously, you're from the city as well. You're born and bred here. So, you know, obviously, we've just had Jamie Patterson come back, born and bred player as well. What's it like being in the sort of like youth setup, if you like, and how did it come about for you?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like through, you know, obviously born in Coventry and everything like that, as you say. So it starts from Coventry schoolboys, really. So I went to Stoke Park School in Coventry, and you start playing for your school team, start getting represented with Coventry schoolboys, and that's where it was called School of Excellence at that point. So the academy was the School of Excellence, and we had people like Ray Goodin, Lowell Kearns, Bert Edwards, Colin Dobson, who was the youth team manager then, looking at the people in the School of Excellence. And yeah, we kind of we would kind of be selected for the School of Excellence. So you'd stop playing for your Sunday team. So I used to play for Allesley Aces and Ernstford Grange Dynamos. It was on a Sunday. So you'd have to stop playing for them, play for the School of Excellence, where you then play against teams like Leicester, Derby, Nottingham Forest, those kind of teams. And at that point, that would be from 14 to 16. And then at 16, it was then whether you got a kind of a YTS at that point. It was the £29.50 first year and £35 the second year kind of thing. So I have to say, I was just playing football because I just loved playing. I loved playing with my mates in the street. It was kind of, I wasn't necessarily thinking this is what I'm going to be doing. I wasn't kind of, I didn't feel entitled or anything like that. I just thought, if I get a chance, great. So I just remember getting a letter through from Coventry City and just saying you've been offered a 2-year YTS. And I honestly was really really surprised. I know I was doing well, but I've never been like that, expecting that I should get this or I should get that. I was always kind of very grateful, and that's the way it started. So you got into the youth team, lived at the Sky Blue Lodge, even though you was from Coventry. We had people from Ireland, Wales, Scotland, all around England. And so I think they just wanted that, that togetherness, really. You'd live there, even if, like I said, I lived in Woodway Park at that point, and kind of, lived at the lodge till after the game on a Saturday morning, and then went home for the Saturday afternoon and the Sunday, really. But, 2 great years. And then obviously after that, you get to see whether you're going to get a pro contract. And out of about 18 of us, I think it was about 3 or 4 of us did. So, and then it just went on from there, really.
Did you room with anybody there that we would have known of? Or?
Probably no. A lad called Jamie Clennon was my youth team roommate, basically. So he's a goalie for the youth team, and he went off to be a professor, completely different route. So it wasn't. No, I didn't room with anyone that you would know of, and so we had some decent players in there. Willie Boland was in my kind of youth team. I'm trying to think of Jamie Barnwell, Edinburgh, kind of made a few appearances for Coventry at some point as well. And then Isden Christie and Andy Ducrow, people like that who kind of had sniffs around the first team. But I was probably, Gavin O'Toole as well was another one who kind of was in the reserves. And it was just one of those where I was probably out of that lot. I was definitely not the most talented or anything, but I just had a work ethic that I just always did my best and try to give it my all, and it stood me a good stead, really. Obviously, I kind of progressed, through the ranks, basically. Yeah,
well, obviously you got your 309 appearances overall, mate. Yeah. So you must have done something right. Let's face it,
Thank you.
So, obviously, who did you look up to? Who were your the age group just before you, if you like? Who did you look up to, and who did you want to emulate, I suppose?
Well, I think obviously you go into the youth team and then you go into the reserves, and that's where you'd start mixing with the older players, basically, and playing. So it was, it was just I think it was kind of the Midland Pro. I can't remember what it was. The reserve league, anyway, where we would actually play against experienced pros at that point. And now it's at the under 23s when you're actually really just playing against younger lads, at your age. But you could go up to kind of Old Trafford and play against players who have kind of been injured and coming back into full fitness and get that massive experience. But so playing in the reserves with people like Gary Gillespie was someone who kind of took me under his wing at that point. I was coming through as a centre half or a left back at that point. And he was brilliant. But then going into the first team, it would be people like Brian Burrows, Dion Dublin, Stephen Grizovich. Oggy was just fantastic for me. He was such a down-to-earth person, along with Dion as well. He was getting that mixture of kind of being a bit streetwise with Dion and the way he kind of could, and Oggy with the way he just conducted himself throughout his whole career. So, and like Brian Burrows, it just different bits and pieces, what advice that they give me about dealing with the pressures and if you've had a good game, then just feel that you've had a good game. You don't need to go looking to see if people thought you had a good game, because if you thought you did and they think you didn't, you think, well, what have I done wrong there? But even if you've had a bad game, don't be listening to the radio, because it was just radio then, really. Don't get in the Telegraph and stuff like that, because if you know you've had a bad game, the manager tells you, your older pros tell you, that's all you need to know. You don't need it from everyone else. And that was one of the things that was, those bits of advice kind of, because you have to be really mentally strong. And I suppose you feel a bit more pressure as well playing for your hometown club, and knowing that there's so many people who kind of feel they should be in your position. And I could have done that. And, it's easy saying that, really, but you've got to go and do it if you figure you could have done it. Do you know what I mean? So it's a really difficult thing. So there's an added pressure, and you really want to do well for your city.
Yeah, obviously. In your early days, did you take it to heart when you heard things like that? Was it more as you got older that you could sort of take it on the chin, sort of thing?
Definitely. I think as a young lad, you're impressionable, aren't you? And you can get affected by these things, but it does toughen you up. We had managers like Ron Atkinson, Gordon Strachan, which was he was tough on you in training, and there was certain things where he said, if you can't handle me having a go at you in training and saying this and that, how are you going to handle 25,000-30,000 people saying it to you, kind of thing? Which it does it might not be the way that it would be done today. Do you know what I mean? But it's kind of like it definitely toughens you up, and you do have to have a real mental toughness. But the thing is, it does affect you when you're a younger lad. It did affect me, but then you learn to kind of deal with it. You take that advice from the older pros, and you've got your family around you that kind of, shield you from things. And like I say, I would find it really difficult now with the age of social media and stuff like that, because you can't really get away from it. I'm not on a lot of social media now as it is, but I think people, they search for that good things, but probably the bad things are the things that stick in their mind. And my advice would just to steer clear from it. But it is what it is, isn't it? You're not going to get away from it now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Mark, any questions for Marcus at the moment?
Yeah, I was just about to mention that point about social media, because Marcus Hall, if he was playing in today's football, would you feel a bit more? Would it affect you mentally like quite a bit if such and such? I put a message on saying he's useless, he shouldn't be in the team, I don't know, or words strong as that effect. How would you feel now playing now with social media in today's world? You feel quite.
I think it would be difficult, Mark. I do, and I would find it difficult. And the thing is, it's hard because you can't keep away from what's going on. You are going to kind of take notice of it a little bit, but it's one of them. If you kind of if you get drawn into it too much, it is going to affect you really. So I would do my best to kind of steer clear of it. But yeah, I think I would find it very difficult to kind of deal with today's pressures. But at the same time, I don't seek kind of praise or anything like that. So I wouldn't be going on there to look for it good or bad really. So, but it's easier said than done, isn't it? Because sometimes you could be flicking through something and you see something. And for me, when I was playing, it wasn't even so much me, it was my family seeing it. I know that sounds really weird. It's like, I don't want my mum to see someone saying something bad about me, or my dad saying something, or someone saying bad about my dad reading it, or my nan and granddad or anything like that. I can take it, but don't try and say anything about me in front of my family. I know that sounds a bit weird, but that's more what it was for me, because you take it on the chin as a player, but it's who else it affects really.
I think.
Yeah. Go on, Mark. Sorry.
I was just going to say they might have heard it in the stands as well when you're playing, and that I guess that's the most hurtful thing, isn't it? So from a player's point of view, because I mean, I'm sure that you're not the only example, and so many families have probably gone through the same thing, and it's not great, is it really?
Mark, you're right. You're dead right. And I remember so many times where my mum and my mum and my wife would be sitting there or something like that, and someone's kind of got it in for you, which is fine. They pay their money, they can do it, but they don't probably realise the effect it might have on someone who's kind of sitting next to them, who is a family member and stuff like that. I know my dad had to bite his tongue quite a few times, and and kind of hold back. But it's one of them. If you make a scene, sometimes it will get worse, but sometimes as well. It depends the levels it gets to. Do you know what I mean? And that's I think people kind of you do get really good fans who try and police it a little bit, don't they? And kind of stand up for, do you know what I mean? So it's one of them. You're always going to get those kind of things, but I think there's more good than bad, isn't there, really? So
yeah, definitely. Obviously, you mentioned some of the players there, Oggy, Brian Burrows, that you played with. I'm just going to go. I've just made a little list of the type of player that you played with, because it's incredible. Nuddy, Peter and Love, Mickey Quinn, John Williams, Gordon Strachan, Wegley, McAllister, Huckabee, Isaiah, Dublin, Whelan, Westwood, and Callum Wilson. Some of them are just, phenomenal, aren't they? Is there anyone that you played with that absolutely stood out to you and you said, wow, what a player? I know most of them do, to be fair.
Yeah. There was obviously, I think for technique and stuff like that, Gary McAllister would be someone who you kind of think, bloody hell, he made everything look so easy in training when it was so hard for everyone else, if you know what I mean. So he was fun, and the way he conducted himself and everything like that. And like I said, I've said about Dion and the way he conducted himself and was such a presence on the field. You had people like Mustafa Hadji, Nuddy, where you just didn't know what he was going to bring, just a box of tricks, but such a humble person as well. So yeah, some really, Mickey Quinn was when I was coming through the youth team, and you just see, you look at him, you think, you think, how has he kind of scored? But his finishing on the training field and everything like that, it was just pure instinct. It was, so there's so many good players who have come through Coventry, and we've kind of not been spoiled, but sometimes you read that list and you think, bloody hell, there has been some fantastic players who've kind of graced Highfield Road and the CBS as well. So
yeah, it is a list, and obviously the list now is just growing, isn't it? So
yeah.
So let's talk about the managers that you played under. You mentioned Ron Atkinson there. I think you also played under Peter Reid, Mickey Adams, and Ian Dowie. I think that was more your second stint.
It was Mickey. Didn't play under Peter. It was Mickey Adams.
Okay.
Yeah, so but Peter Reid was there when I was at Stoke. But those are the managers. Yeah.
So how did it vary from your first stint under Ron Atkinson to Mickey Adams? Was there much of a change, or was there a complete difference?
I suppose Ron Atkinson was his man management style was just fantastic. He was the person who, well, I hadn't, but to be fair, Phil Neal was the person who gave me my debut as a sub against Tottenham on New Year's Eve, I think it was. I think I come on for Julian Derby when he was come on. I think we was losing 4-0 anyway, but it was great that a kind of New Year's Eve and I going into the new year made my debut for my hometown club. It was fantastic, no matter what the score was. I remember I went down to the Wolfsgrave club on New Year's Day to kind of see.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was. I just remember it. I was going down, and I just couldn't believe that I'd actually made my debut, even if it was for 10, 15 minutes, whatever it was. But it's Ron Atkinson who gave me my full debut, and he kind of made you feel 10 feet tall, going out, and his man management, even if the belief he had on you made you go out there and want to run through brick walls, because he made you feel like you were a special player, do you know what I mean? And you're a special team, and you could kind of I know he come in when we was fighting a relegation battle, and he kind of galvanised it and got us going. I think there's players like, was it Mick Marsh and all Mike Marsh who was playing and stuff like that, and scored. And it was one of them where I just remember he just brought a real a buzz to the club basically, and kind of and that kind of the way he did that was fantastic. Gordon Strachan was a completely different kettle of fish, but I think he may have found it slightly difficult in the transition from a player to a manager as well, because of the standards he set as well. But he was brilliant with me, absolutely brilliant, but a real hard taskmaster, and you kind of knew if you weren't performing, you were in for it basically, and that's the way he was. He calmed down a lot when I went to Southampton with him for a few months, but at Coventry he was difficult. Mickey Adams, then when I come back my second stint, he was what he said is what he did basically, and he was quite old school again really in his approach to things. And then you had the flip side with Ian Dowie, who was real trying to kind of be quite technical and bring that kind of new kind of analyst kind of thing in and really go into the finer details of things. And then Chris Coleman was really laid back on things. But yeah, so it did slowly evolve from that real old school kind of say what you want to the players and they'll do it kind of thing to basically giving the players a bit more respect and a bit more kind of trust as well, really. Like beforehand, Ian Dowie brought in things where it's like your days off this week are going to be such and such, and we'd never had that before, because you only got a day off if you train really well, and if you didn't train well, you wouldn't get the day off. But he would trust us that we were going to train well, we were going to do this, that is going to be a day off, so you could plan things, and he would give you that was certain things. It was probably like that all the time now, and they probably know what days off they got for the whole season. I don't know. Yeah. It's one of them. It was really new to us, but so that kind of technical side of it was just coming in as I was kind of leaving, if that makes sense. So
yeah, definitely. Let's talk about that, because obviously you mentioned there that I can't remember who you said Strachan took you to Southampton. Now, obviously, on paper that looks a little bit weird, because you went to, did you go to Forest on loan as well?
Yeah,
and you went to Southampton, but that was all in the space of a year, and then you joined Stoke, didn't you?
Yeah.
What happened? What happened?
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember ITV Digital. There was a channel that kind of was being set up, and it all. So I was coming to the end of my contract. So with Coventry, I started to feel like a part of the furniture basically. It was kind of like you felt like as a youth team player, you're coming in and you got taken for granted. You see people coming in on, and money was never a factor for me, and it genuinely wasn't. But you see people coming in getting all this money, and then you still revert to me playing anyway. Do you know what I mean? You're thinking, well, I'm not going to get in this respect here, and so you kind of. it was one of them where they offered me a contract which showed, it wasn't respectful at all, really. So I said, okay, well, probably best for me to kind of leave and try and get some experience elsewhere, which kind of turned out for the best thing for me to do. But at that point, my contract ran out and I didn't agree my contract with Coventry. I had 2 contracts in place, one with Forest, one with another team. But because ITV Digital collapsed, they couldn't fulfill that kind of contract. So there's a lad called Alan, I think it's Alan Rogers at Forest, who's another left back. They were waiting to get him out, but he's not going to leave his contract because no one was actually signing players at that point. So I was on a pay-as-you-play kind of contract at Forest. Okay. So we started the season with him down at Portsmouth. I got injured in the warm-up. I felt my thigh go, but I played the whole game with a strained thigh. It was stupid. But then, obviously, I'm injured, trying to get a contract, and it just wasn't working out. So Gordon Strachan kind of said, look, we need some cover for Wayne Bridge. I kind of knew I wasn't going to play because Wayne Bridge was probably on the longest consecutive run of playing games ever. And I just thought, well, this is a way to kind of get back into the Premier League, basically, as a number 2 to that position, basically, and go from there. But I wasn't one to kind of just sit and take money, basically. I wanted to be able to play. So when Stoke came along, it was an opportunity to move back home as well, even because my family was still in Coventry. So I signed for Stoke on a loan deal for the rest of the season and signed there permanently. So that's how it evolved, really. So, yeah, it looked like it's a bit of kind of hopping from here to there, but the reason being because of that ITV Digital kind of situation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, frustrating. So I weren't just trying to kind of get whatever I could get. To be fair, I probably was trying to get whatever I could get at that point. But Stoke seemed like a good move, and I think Clive Clark, who played for us at one point at Coventry, he broke his leg, so they were kind of needing a left back straight away, and that's how that came about there. So, so that's a good kind of a couple of years at Stoke as well. So,
was there any point in that time when you thought, I can't carry on, I need to look outside of football, or was you still dead set on playing?
Yeah, I was still dead set. I kind of I knew what I could offer a club. I knew what I believed in myself. The only problem was that I had this thigh strain, which wasn't going away really. So I even joined Southampton injured, but then I was fit within a few kind of weeks. But yeah, it was I would never kind of lost hope. It was kind of like, it was frustrating. But yeah, it was one of them where I knew I was going to get back into one sooner rather than later, basically. So, but yeah, it was a slightly worrying time, but I think it was for a lot of footballers at that point who were in that kind of situation. So.
Yeah, and obviously, how did the reunion to come back to Cov? How did that come about for your second stint?
Well, it's just, I think Mickey Adams kind of contacted. So I was kind of, I would always jump at the chance again. But I felt at that point when I'd been away, I'd kind of grown as a player. I'd kind of matured. I'd kind of got that respect that I was kind of looking for, really. And you kind of feel like you're more complete. And so if a chance come back to Coventry, I would have just jumped it. I'd have ran down the M6 from Stoke, to be honest with you. But I really would have, and there was no toll road at that point either. No, but I would have definitely done it. And it was one of them where it just so happened. I don't know if my agent put the feelers out or anything. I don't think it was. I think Mickey Adams kind of was looking. I don't understand that. I remember, I should say, why the situation come with. He was looking for a left back, but yeah. So when it came through, I just said, yeah, most definitely. I couldn't wait to go back, and it was. I was a bit, I suppose, apprehensive, thinking, would the fans want me back, really? But I don't think I left on bad terms. I think most people knew what the situation was, and it was good for me. And I felt like I come back a better player, more rounded player, and obviously more experienced, because, you go and sample something, as you know, you go and sample different fans, you go and sample different grounds and stuff, different levels. And yeah, but it was so good to come back to Highfield Road and have that last season at Highfield Road and playing that last game at Highfield Road. It was just perfect timing, really.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, I mentioned at the start, you scored 4 goals, and they were all good goals as well, I must admit. I have watched them today, and they are good goals.
Didn't take you long, did it, mate? Didn't take you long.
Which one do you remember? You probably always remember your first. Which one did you like the most?
I would probably say the Everton one in the cup, where it's kind of it's come. I think Paul Williams done a switch to play, and I was out on the left wing, and I've kind of brought it in my left. And why on earth I hit it with my right foot, I'll never know. I literally could have went anywhere. But to be honest with you, I could strike a good ball, but right-footed. I think everyone knows right foot wasn't my strong point. But yeah, it was. To see it, I just caught it perfectly, and to see it go in the top corner, and it was. I was just in a blur. I didn't even know what to do, to be honest with you. It was kind of. I really didn't. Yeah. But then the one against Tottenham in like a Premier League goal, that was a really good goal. I think that was to round it off for that 4-0 win. I think it was, or 4-1. I can't remember, but yeah, that was one that I really enjoyed, and as I said, I scored against. Preston as well, that not many people have done with it. So I think I've scored in, it's not too bad, is it? It's not. It could the 3 own goals. Though, I'm still waiting to hear these. I just don't know where these come from.
We're not going to mention the own goals, kid. I might be wrong to. But on the stats that I saw, it did say 3 own goals, so that's why I mentioned them.
I know I've scored one for England in the 21s against Greece, but then I scored in the same game. I scored it at the right end. It was on telly. Thinking my family are watching this. This is so embarrassing. So I thought I've got to make amends and just hit from. We were playing at Carrow Road. I just hit one from about 20 yards and it went in. So kind of cancelled it out. But find the other 2 for me, mate. Then that's fine. I'll take.
I'll send them. Yeah, I'll send them. Yeah. Go on, Mark. Sorry, mate.
No, I suppose because he wasn't really playing as a wing back as such. He was an actual left back, an orthodox left back. So I suppose. Yeah. It wasn't like in today's team where, our wing backs are bombing forward a lot and, are encouraged to go forward. I guess your primary job was defence. So I guess there's no surprise when you scored 4 goals, really, in all seriousness.
Yeah, we were kind of more standardised left backs, like you say. It was kind of, but I think when Strachan kind of expect you to have energy, definitely to kind of get up and down because that's the kind of player he was really. But yeah, I think it's like Mickey Adams. He was a left back defender. He wanted keep it really tight at the back and stuff like that. And that first and foremost, that's your job. But nowadays you are kind of up and down. But a lot of kind of people aren't so good at the defending side of things. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like it's getting the right balance. And but yeah, I was happy to kind of. I never even thought about scoring goals. I would be just as happy kind of setting one up or. I'm not trying to sound cringy, but just happy to win the game. Do you know what I mean? It really was. Yeah. I kind of did class myself as a team player, and it just didn't really matter who kind of scored. As long as we kind of got a win and a decent performance, that was really, truly was the main thing for me, really. So.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned England be there as well. We won't mention the own goal again, but you mentioned England be there. Did they? Because I asked some of the other guys that are part of All Things Sky Blue if there's any other questions that you wanted to ask you. Yeah. And one said, was a full England cap ever on the cards, or was it just an England B?
Well, I got to obviously played like about 12 times in the 21s, and then kind of at that B gap when we played against Chile at West Brom, and I wouldn't say I was kind of knocking on the England door, but I was kind of in their sights, if you know what I mean, on the radar. But I picked up an injury against Arsenal at Highfield Road. It was an innocuous challenge I knocked it past Ray Parlour and my leg got caught and he's kind of caught my leg. But it wasn't a bad challenge. It was accident. But I ruptured all my medial ligaments in that game, and that was in the first half, and carried on playing basically. And it just not that it made it worse. I just didn't realise how bad it was until when your adrenaline slows down after the game. I'm thinking, oh my god, this is absolutely killing. And I was out for kind of like 18 months on and off. I had 4 operations, and it was coming back, and my knee was reacting to the screws in it and stuff like that. So that kind of come at a really bad time, really, to be honest with you. But I'm not saying that I would have got any England squad, but I was kind of, to be in the B team, you're obviously kind of, you're obviously one of the better players in that position in the country. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of, I'm not going to start saying, oh yeah, I would have, but it was a time when Sven-Goran Eriksson come in as well, and he was giving people like Chris Powell a chance at left back, and so you kind of just thought, and I'm not saying he was a fantastic player, but it wasn't out of the realms, to maybe get a chance if you were fit and kind of playing well. But obviously, that kind of hampered me a little bit. But yeah, it was good. I'm proud of where I got to on that kind of international stage. I managed to captain my country at under 21 level as well, so it was really good. But everyone would love to play at a full senior level, but I probably got to the level I deserve to get to, really. So
who was can you remember the manager at the under 21? Who was it at the time?
So it was Peter Taylor who's the manager, and I think he took over the England team for a few caretaker games, really. But Glenn Hoddle was the actual England manager at the time, and we played. I think it's when Princess Diana died, and we had the black ribbons on one of the games and stuff like that. I think the seniors played Moldova, and we played Moldova at Wickham and stuff like that. So it was around that kind of era. So, but yeah, really, really good times, really proud moments. Who knows where it would have went, but I was proud of where I got to at that stage anyway. So.
Was there a massive? Did you see a massive difference from playing club level to international standard? How was that for you?
Yeah, it was. Obviously, you're playing. I played with Frank Lampard when in the 21s as well. So he's kind of like, there were so many. You obviously got the best players from around, so that the tempo in training was a lot quicker. You kind of had to be on it, basically. You didn't want to go there and let them think that you're not up to this kind of standard. So it'd be people like Rio Ferdinand, Jamie Carragher, Michael Owen, Beckham was in one of the squads I was in, Paul Scholes, no, not Paul Scholes, Phil Neville and people like that. So it was one of them where if you go in there and be like a shrinking violet, you're going to kind of just sink, basically. So it was quick. You kind of think, well, I'm here for a reason. They're not going to pick me if they don't think I'm good enough. And so it was. But sometimes you go in there, you think, having a little bit of a doubt and stuff like that. But then you've got to kind of like say, when you're there, it's just a fantastic experience. And you hear about what goes on at other clubs and stuff like that. And it was great. But there's definitely a difference. The pace of that international football, the training of it really is where you kind of notice a difference. And it's just great to kind of see how some of the other players and hear about how it is at their clubs, if you know what I mean. So but good times, really good times.
Excellent. Again, you've mentioned you've played with or trained with some of the the world's best players, Owen, Beckham and such the like. So that you should be really proud, and as a Coventarian, we're proud of you as well.
Oh, so, thank you. I appreciate that.
You can take that. Any other questions, Mark, for Marcus?
Yeah, no, I definitely echo Stuart's comments there, because you think about it, there's not been many Coventry players that have represented England. I think Steve Froggatt's the only other name I could think of, and obviously Dion Dublin. I was just going to ask Marcus, who is your toughest opponent that you played against in your time with the Sky Blues?
So I get asked this, and you'll probably be surprised. So I played against Ginola. He was really tough, but he would go from one side to the other, and you just think, just please go over to the other side, because but yeah, kind of like people like Beckham he wasn't you would play against you, but he'd cross the ball in front of you, so it was never really a direct duel, if you know what I mean. But one of the hardest games I had, and this probably something, but it was a lad called Raul Fox, and he played for Tottenham.
Yeah.
Oh my God! There was a game at Highfield Road. I got absolutely rinsed. I hold my hands up now. I think I was below par, and he was just on it. And I come out of it, and I just remember my dad saying, "Not great today, was it, son?" kind of thing. And I just thought, no, it wasn't great at all. But they were the kind of players, as a defender, you don't want to play against. They're nippy, they're always on it, they're sharp. And he was he'd been at Norwich, I think, Newcastle, Tottenham, might be the other way around. Yeah, and he was just a really kind of and just a real nice person as well. He wasn't like flash or anything like that, but he was just kind of real honest player who would kind of get at you. So as a fullback or a defender, balls and people playing in front of you is fine. It's when they want to get at you and use their pace and running behind, that's when it's difficult. And I was quite a young lad anyway, but I just remember coming off and thinking, good God, I got rinsed there today. And you just have to think, you just move on and kind of, I did face them a few times before and did better, but that just sticks out in my mind thinking, bloody hell, that was, and being at Highfield Road is even worse because you just think everyone's watching as well.
Yeah.
But so I definitely didn't read the paper that night, I can tell you that. All that
Yeah,
I mean,
obviously. Go on, sorry, Mark.
I was going to say, like, so in the training lead up to a match, let's say you know you're playing against David Beckham potentially. Does like a Gordon Strachan will sort of tactically sort of tell you how to sort of approach it when you're playing against his style of playing?
Of course, yeah, and you kind of like for the kind of more well-known players, you kind of have an idea anyway. But the manager's job he would kind of let you know you're playing against. He would have little clips of certain things as well. But yeah, and I think they would kind of have watched the game before and got scouts kind of do opposition scouting and stuff like that. So they would tell you what this player does, what he does, and so sometimes they could tell you everything, but if they're kind of a better player than you or they're better than you on the day is kind of difficult. But yeah, is you do get those kind of those guidance notes and stuff like that, and the way to try and deal with it. Doing it is a different matter altogether, but it's kind of that's what they're there for, isn't it? Really, to kind of give you the best kind of chance of winning the game, really. So
yeah, absolutely.
Fair enough. Obviously, you mentioned there about playing with or training with Frank Lampard.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is going out before the Stoke game, who obviously you played for as well.
Yeah.
Mark Robbins is obviously now at Stoke, so it's kind of a double meaning why we've got you on, really.
Yeah.
First of all, what was your reaction? Because I think we did CWR together, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
And I think it was about the time that Robbins left.
I think it was when Vivash left, wasn't it? I think
was that when
Vivash
left?
Yeah, it got
right.
mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
My apologies. When Robbins went, what was your initial thoughts, and what are they now? Frank Lampard's in, and doing a great job.
Well, I've always been the same on this, and I generally have. I just thought Mark Robbins had been fantastic, absolutely fantastic. You couldn't fault it. He brought so many great times to the city. The respect that he got, he thoroughly deserved as well. But I just think that, change is always needed at some point. And I kind of think that it comes to a stage where, I just needed a bit of freshening up. And I think they tried to do it with the coaching staff and all that kind of stuff. But it just seemed like it wasn't kind of working, and that spark had kind of gone a little bit, and it's completely understandable. But I didn't expect him to be sacked, but I wasn't surprised that they were kind of maybe looking to make a change, because I thought everything kind of comes to an end at some point, and maybe the way it was done was probably the thing that caused them the most uproar, wasn't it, really, rather than kind of, and that kind of, it clouded certain parts of judgment as well, really. But with regards to kind of when they said about Frank Lampard, and I think the other one was Ruud Nistelrooy or whatever, when they were kind of talking about these players, and managers, I should say, when I was all for it with Frank Lampard, I think it would have bring that kind of more modern approach to things, and he's got kind of contacts in decent places as well. Not for 1 minute saying Mark Robbins hasn't, because he will have, but Frank Lampard could use his contacts and experience and kind of bring players on board who he can kind of nurture. And I think it was always going to be difficult for him at the start because of the wave of affection for Mark Robbins as well. But he's done so well to kind of. And he had to do really well to kind of overcome that, because I think if he had a bit of a stumble and didn't really kind of hit the ground running, so to speak, I know there was a slight little dip in there as well, but I think it would have been hard to kind of still change those fans who were adamant about Robbins as well. So, but I can understand it, but I'm just really pleased that, the fans are getting behind him. It seems like they are to me. It seems like everyone's kind of on board now. And we're just in a really good place. It's kind of we've had against Sheffield Wednesday, it was a bit of a lucky win, wasn't it, really, to kind of, but sometimes you make your own luck as well, isn't it? So, but there's some big games coming up. I think we got about 10, 11 games left of the season, or something like, I don't know, 12 games, I can't remember, but we need to kind of there's some games in there against Sunderland, is it Burnley, teams like that, who you kind of think that they're the games where I think these games now, like Preston, I know there's seemingly some kind of curse or whatever, but we need to go. We need to go. You need to go in and kind of like put that behind you. I think it was always kind of like Deepdale was a bit of a curse, even though that was one of the ones I scored against at Deepdale. But I think we always used to go there and not do particularly well. I get it, but at home we should be going in there. I used to love playing at home. Highfield Road, the Rico, whatever. That was where I kind of just felt my best, basically. So you go out there and you expect to try and win every single game. So it's one of them where Frank's got them playing. He's kind of got them playing in the right way. You know, they all seem to be kind of listening to what he's wanting them to do, and he's kind of got some players kind of playing who probably wasn't playing to their full potential beforehand, and you know that happens with a new manager anyway, doesn't it? It's kind of the way a different voice sometimes kind of gets a different spark out of you, different kind of coaching stuff, a different coaching method. And like I say, Mark Robbins did a fantastic job, but maybe it was just time to kind of have a little bit of a freshen up, and maybe, you know, hopefully Mark goes on and does well after, you know, not against Coventry, but does well at Stoke as well for himself, really, because I think he deserves to go on and have a decent kind of bash at something else as well. So, but now with Frank, I think it's I think he's got him in the right direction. I just think as long as we're in and around it, you know, and have that final push at the end, I think there's only kind of really two places we can go for, and those playoff places, and they're really. So I think the first four are kind of done and dusted by the looks of it. So, but yeah, I think, you know, let's keep our fingers crossed, keep behind him, and I think that's the good thing. When we even had a loss, it's not like everyone's kind of gone into the doldrums. And Frank's been the same with the way he's kind of said, you know, I'm not going to be too downbeat about it. Let's get going again. And I think that's what you need. And I think that's what's kind of helped everyone kind of be pushing and pulling in the same direction, really. So,
yeah, just staying on Mark Robbins briefly. Was you surprised that Mark came back into football so quickly? And are you surprised that he went to Stoke? Just because Stoke's been known as a bit of a poison chalice, I suppose, just because they do turn managers over quite quickly. And do you think that they'll give him time to do what he needs to do?
I probably wasn't surprised that he went straight back into it, because he probably felt that he wasn't ready to leave it. Do you know what I mean? So if he kind of like, if he got the sack, you kind of want to prove someone wrong, you know, straight away, don't you? And kind of think, actually, well, I'll prove you shouldn't have got rid of me. And with Stoke, I think, they do kind of a bit of a revolving door at times there, but I do think he's the kind of person who wants a challenge. So if he can turn that around, just like Pulis did, and he got him into the Premier League. I know he's playing his own brand of football, Pulis, but he did it and he got them there. You know, if Robbins can kind of get that kind of the Stoke team kind of playing in the right way and kind of moving up the league, it's going to be a tough task, but you know, that'll be a real achievement for him. And I think he is kind of the person who would like a challenge, basically. And so, you know, you could go somewhere and just kind of, you know, be mid-table, not really do too much or whatever, but to get Stoke from where they are, you know, to the kind of top end of the league would be fantastic. I don't think it's going to obviously happen this season, but you know, if he can keep them up and then kind of go into next season with a fresh start, I think he's got every chance, and good luck to him.
Excellent. Just before we go on to the quickfire questions, Marcus, let us know, since you've retired, what have you been doing with yourself? Are you still in football, or have you completely gone away?
Well, when I was finishing football, I kind of qualified as a financial advisor. So I just wanted to make sure I can do things other than play football, and I can learn. And I got I can have transitional skills going, because it's a hard thing if you've only known football all your life. It's to kind of start learning stuff again and stuff like that. But we always knew, in my kind of time, that we would have to have a second career out of football. So it is, it was one of them where you kind of put things in place. But so I did that. I didn't particularly enjoy it, but it showed that I could learn it, and I passed all my qualifications and done that. But I went to work in Jaguar Land Rover in Gaydon for quite a few years. But now I've been working as a recruitment consultant now for the last kind of 7 years, working for a lad. You remember Gary McPhee and Stephen McPhee used to play for us? So Gary McPhee got injured when he was in the reserve, so kind of had to quit football professionally, but played on Ireland and stuff like that. But he set up a recruitment company. He'd been doing that for kind of the last kind of 12, 13 years. So I was kept in contact with him. So I've been been working there. been working there for the last, doing really well. One of the associate directors there now, and kind of it's a really kind of good place to work, and but it's completely different. Nothing will take away kind of you. That's one of the things I would say. You don't realise probably what you got. Not that I ever took it for granted, because I was never like that, but you don't realise that people pay £40-50 a month membership for a gym, and to try and keep fit. But I was going out there every day, putting my shorts and t-shirt on, running around the pitch for till kind of 10 till 12 or whatever it would be, half 10 till 12, and getting that fitness for free, basically. Do you know what I mean? And I'm doing something that I love, and then playing for my hometown club, and playing football for a living. It was, like I say, I didn't take that for granted, but you don't realise that you're everything else that it brings you as well, that fitness, that kind of clearing your mind and everything like that. But sitting in front of a monitor and kind of spinning around on your chair and stuff like that, I have to get up. I go to the gym every lunchtime and stuff like that. But it's one of them where it's you can't replace football. You really can't. It's kind of such a fantastic thing, and one I'll be forever grateful that I kind of had a chance to play in that. So.
Fantastic. Absolutely superb. Thank you very much for your time, Marcus. It's much appreciated. Before I do let you go, though, I like to do sort of 4 or 5 questions. I might try and sneak another one in. Just quick fire, one-worded answers if you can, but don't worry if it is a sentence, it's fine. So, the first one is favourite away ground?
Highbury.
Okay. Player that, you might have said this already, to be fair, player that impressed you the most while playing?
Sorry, you went off a bit then. What player that?
Sorry, mate. Player that impressed you the most while you were playing?
Whoa. Yeah, Gary McAllister. I'll say that for Coventry. For Coventry, I would say.
Hardest player to play against you?
Will Fox.
The most influential coach?
Ron Atkinson.
Okay. I think you've said that one already. So, one player in today's team that you would have liked to play with in your time?
Oh, God, that's a difficult one. I will say Hadji Wright.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Because he'd be in front of me, and then I could get around him and stuff like that. And so, I would go for him. Well, when I've seen him, he's played on the left. I don't know does he play all sides? I don't know, but I just remember him playing on the left wing when I've watched him a few times. So, but I'll probably say Hadji Wright, because you try and get a connection with him.
Okay, you'll be doing a lot of defending because you don't track back.
Well, that's my job.
I'm sorry, Hadji. I'm sorry, Hadji.
Yeah, but
that's my job, isn't it? That is my job.
He scores goals. Though. He scores. I think he's still our joint top goal scorer this season. He's missed a lot of the season.
Marcus got 17 assists, so I'm sure he'd assist him at least once if he was playing with him.
Well, I'll do his defending. That's an assist for a minute, really. So that's
Just quick off for me, Marcus. Do you still go to the game? Do you still go to the games at the CBS?
So we get a couple of So I've been up a few times this season, but we get a couple of tickets each kind of home game. The midweek games are difficult because of work and just kind of rushing back because we're based in Leamington. But the home games, we've been up to a few. I've done the lounges a couple of times as well. But my son's going against Preston at the weekend, so so that would be one what he's kind of really looking for. My son tries to drag me all the time, Ethan. He kind of loves it basically. So because he didn't see me play, you see, he was only 3 or 4, so he's kind of 22 next month, and he loves the Sky Blue so much, and he's kind of I feel a bit guilty that he didn't kind of see me. So and then when I say I can't make it up this time, Ethan, he's going, oh Dad. So he's the one who drags me up there. But I've definitely got a lot more interest in it of late. It's kind of like I don't mean since Frank Lampard, maybe this season really, and it's kind of towards the end of last season. It's one of them where it just feels like that there's a bit more of a feel good factor around the place kind of thing. it's kind of a nice place to be. So yeah, it's I just really want them to do well. It'd be great if they can kind of get back up to the Premier League or just be up and around it and make that end of the season exciting. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, totally agree. Right, taking up enough of your time. Thank you
mate.
so much, Marcus, for joining us.
Thanks, Marcus.
Again, Mark, thank you very much for joining me. Just remember where you can find us, though, guys. We are available on X or Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Please go and like and subscribe. We're available on podcasts. Please go and rate us 5 stars if you listen to us on iTunes or Spotify or wherever else that you get your podcasts from. We are sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications, and we're also partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar at the CBS Arena and the Sky Blue Tavern, and we're also in association with Coventry Ladies now as well. So on that note, once again, Mark, thank you very much for joining me. Marcus, it's been a pleasure. I'll text you soon, buddy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. A pleasure to be here. Thank you. Take care.
Cheers, guys. Play up Sky Blues.
Bye-bye.
Excellent.
Hold on. There we go.
Go on, the other one.